Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Hi, my name is Amy. It is lovely to meet you. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about extreme frugality and some of the things that I do that are considered extremely frugal, and some of the things that I could do but don't. And I'll also sort of explain our reasons for it. When you're talking about extreme frugality, it can be very easy to get into, well, I must be doing absolutely everything I possibly can and saving every single penny I can. And for some people that just isn't feasible. Certain things won't fit into your life. And just because something works for somebody else does not necessarily mean it's going to work in your situation. So I just wanted to talk about some of the things that we do and some of the things that we don't, and like I said, our reasons behind that. So the first thing that we do to keep our costs down as much as possible is to not waste anything. I do this particularly in the kitchen, so any food scraps and things I use up as much as I possibly can. So using up leftovers, vegetable peelings, anything that we have left over in the kitchen, I will always try and find a use for. For example, vegetable peelings I would either put into a stock or into crisps. I showed how I do those in one of my previous videos, so I'll link that up there. But just using up everything you can and making food stretch as well by bulking it out when you're cooking meals. So using oats or lentils, something like that, just to add extra into your meal without upping the cost. Also, when it comes to not wasting things, we also buy, which I've talked about previously in videos, we buy food that otherwise would just go to waste. So we do this through various different schemes in our local community, and I will be doing a video on those coming up in a couple of weeks' time, hopefully. Just going into a bit more detail on the different things that we do. But there are lots of ways that you can reduce your food spend and also just reduce the crazy amount of food waste that happens in this country. So I will link to that video up here, whichever side it is, and then you can take a look at that one. I also do quite a lot in terms of cleaning that I do quite frugally. So one of my favourite things to do is to use conkers when I'm cleaning. So every year we will all go out and we will collect as many conkers as we can, and I will make a washing liquid from them and use that just in general everyday clothes washes. It just goes into the washing machine in the same way that you would with your usual detergent. Sometimes if things are quite stained, I would add some soda crystals as well, but the conkers on their own, you just grind them up and then make them into a liquid just by mixing them with some warm water, and then you run them through a muslin or a fine sieve just to take out any bits that are left over, and then your washing liquid is good to go. Bicarbonate of soda and vinegar and soda crystals are my kind of go-tos as well when it comes to frugal cleaning. Instead of drain cleaner, I will use a combination of bicarbonate of soda and vinegar. You just put some bicarbonate of soda down your plug holes, add some vinegar to it, and then rinse it through with some warm water. And it will clear out any pipework, and it's a lot cheaper and more eco-friendly as well than using drain cleaners. So when it comes to clothes, we only buy new clothes when we absolutely need to. For the girls, this is a lot more often than it is for Ian and I. Obviously they are growing children, so they always need clothes, but with their old clothes we would either mend them and then we can pass them on to other people, or if they're in good condition you can sell them as well, or if things aren't in good condition then we can always use things for rags, or we make various different things. Livy loves to make cushions out of things, so she would use old cloth from old clothing to do things like that. As and when we do buy new things, we would always try and buy things second hand, or even try and sort of barter for different things. So if somebody has something that we need, we might have something that they need, and then we can do an exchange, whether that's in terms of skills or a physical item, doesn't matter, but we might be able to do something like that instead. So things like shopping from your cupboards as well. Now this happens not just in cupboards. I've talked about this in my no spend year and my sort of tips for getting started, but do an inventory of everything. Whatever it is that you need, you may find that you already have that item, or that you have something that could be repurposed to work as that item. So those are just a few little bits and pieces that we do to be extremely frugal. And basically it comes down to repairing things if things are broken rather than replacing things, and reducing and reusing what we can, which also then is very eco-friendly and keeps us quite zero waste. When we started our frugal journey, it was because we had to. We needed to save money, we didn't have enough money to feed ourselves, we were in a really bad situation, and that's where this all started from. Now we are in a better situation, so now we have a little bit more flexibility with our choices. So there are certain things that we now choose not to do, and we do have reasons for that, but basically it comes down to what works best for our family. There seems to be a bit of a culture around the whole frugal living community where if you're not doing every single thing you can and you're not doing it in a particular way, then you're somehow doing something wrong. Now, this is a journey for everybody, and if you are trying to live frugally, you need to be doing it however is right for you. If you can't cut your food costs down anymore, then don't. Look at a different area in your budget where you can look to cut back instead. Start with where it's easiest for you to cut back. Get used to those lifestyle changes, because it is a lifestyle change, and then start to move on into other areas. We started with food. That's why I talk an awful lot about reducing food costs, because that's where I started looking at our budget, and it was the area that made the biggest difference to us when we were in a situation where I needed to reduce our spending. We simply did not have enough money. But it might be something different for you. There might be a different area of your budget that works, that you can make the most difference in. Start there and then look at the other areas. But the most important thing when it comes to living frugally is that you're also living in a way that you can sustain. I do spend out on kitchen appliances. Those kitchen appliances then give me the chance to reduce our overall food spend. I've spoken about this with my air fryer. I also do this with my slow cooker, and that's simply because our oven is not very economical. It does, however, mean that I have spent money on buying that equipment. For us, that was the right decision. That does not mean that that's the right decision for you, so you do need to think about what's right for you. The things that I talk about here on this channel, they're all things that I do, and they're all things that are right for our family that we've discovered over the last about 10 years that we've been on this journey. And hopefully they will be of use to you, at least some of them, but please don't think that if you're not saving as much as another person is, that you're somehow doing something wrong, because you are not. So some of the things we don't do, first up is our car. We do still have a car. It is a decision that we've made to keep our car. Various different reasons for that. We did reduce down, we did have 2 cars, and we have reduced down to 1, but we have decided to keep that. Our main reason is that for both of our jobs, to try and get there by public transport, although yes, it would reduce our outgoings by quite a lot, it would make our life very unmanageable. So in terms of different timetables and schedules around childcare with the children and everything, to try and do it via public transport would be incredibly difficult, particularly for Ian, who works nights. To try and get him to work and get him home again with the times that he works, it wouldn't really be feasible. So for us, although yes, we would have that big saving if we were to get rid of the car, it would also then mean that Ian would need to look at changing his job, which would potentially mean a drop in income. So spending on hobbies, we have one in particular quite expensive hobby, which is sailing, and we do have a boat. And although that sounds like an extremely unfrugal thing to do, and it is something that we spend on, and we spend quite a lot on, it also means that we can have holidays very cheaply. It is something that's only happened in the last 18 months or so, and we didn't go and buy sort of the biggest, most expensive boat we could. We've bought something that we are then working on, so we're spending money on redoing the boat, which long term the plan is that that would then increase the value of the boat, but our basic main reason for doing it is it's something that we enjoy, and then it takes something else out of our budget in terms of holidays, because we can use the boat for holidays. We also have not cut all of our subscriptions, even as part of our no-buy year. Now, this is something that we did consider cutting them all out, but particularly at the moment, we have the girls at home, so we do have things like Netflix and Amazon Prime, and they are things that we have decided that we are going to keep. That is a decision that's based mostly around the girls. It's not something that Ian and I use very much, but the girls do, and at the moment we just feel like we want to keep that there for them. It is something that if we needed to we could cut, but we've decided that as part of kind of the girls contingency fund for our no buy, that can stay. So although it definitely goes against the whole extremely frugal, it's something that we did think about in terms of our family and the children, and decided to keep that in. It is by no means a necessity, it's definitely a luxury though. Something else that we don't do and could is to grow our own food. Now, we do have a garden, we could be growing our own food, we're not. We have done in the past, and this is something that we've sort of decided not to do. The girls will do a little bit of it this year, they do every year, but we're not going to be going sort of full tilt at growing our own food this year. It's basically because of the other commitments that we've got going on, and I know that it is only a very small thing to be putting the extra effort into growing our own food, but it's something that we've decided that our efforts this year are just better spent elsewhere. Final thing that we don't do but could, and it's something that we have really thought about before as well, is to do with the cats. We buy all of their food and they have quite particular food. It's something that we just do, and we've decided that we are going to continue spending on that rather than making their food or switching for much cheaper brands. It's just something that we found. We have one cat who is absolutely fine and will eat anything, and we have another one who is incredibly fussy, and if we try and change her food she really doesn't like it and just sort of stops eating. So we've made the decision that it's just something that we're not going to do. We're going to keep giving her the food that she enjoys, and it's something that we just factor into our food budget, so all of those things just come in along with our food budget. So I hope you found that video useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and if you're not already, I would love it if you would subscribe if you want to stick around and see more from me. Please leave me any comments below about things that you do that are either extremely frugal or extremely not frugal, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!